Also blur.
Thank you.
Okay. Hello, welcome everyone. We had a session yesterday we started with contact builder, and here let me try to share screen. Pani, can you help me sharing the screen?
I
I'm
think
using this app.
I given you the co-host, so I might
Okay,
sure you have an access. Go ahead. You can, right? Yeah. Now I can see your screen. Thank you.
great. Okay. Also let me minimize. Okay, got it. Okay, so welcome back, everyone. Yesterday I don't want to go into all this introduction and all. And today, as Fani said, we'll try to focus more on the demo side of this contact builder. And yesterday we discussed what is contact builder, how we should configure, what are the scopes of your configurations, what is data designer, all contacts, data source, data extensions, and some of the best practices that you should use with the contact builder. Today we'll be discussing more related to import exports, okay, from the contact builder. What are the common issues that arises that you have to take into consideration? Okay, more with the best practices. First, we'll focus more into the best practices, and then we'll go with the data deletion, few other best practices, and more into demo. And I'll try to cover this very quickly with the demo. So from the contact builder, we can basically define, especially with the imports, okay? And this special case for me arises when we are using SMS subscriptions or WhatsApp subscriptions, right? So especially what you do, like say you have a data extension, sendable data extension, and you're performing the communication. So in the OAM, when it goes to the marketing cloud server, if it is a new subscriber, it's attached to the all contacts. The same applies with SMS also, well and good. But for WhatsApp, when you're doing SYNC, now it is a direct integration, it is coming up. But when you're doing with SYNC, it does not apply the same. You first have to actually import it to the all contacts with the contact number. So the import definition in this particular contact builder plays a very important role. And if you are very well equipped, you understand, okay, we are going to bring those subscribers, we are going to bring the data into marketing cloud, then this is the first place where you should start with. And we'll go to the all contacts in the mobile list and show you, okay, where you can basically create a filtered list of contacts, and then you can basically export or import into the data extension as well. We'll show that as well. Okay. Oh, went back. Okay. So this is the import. So when we do the imports, you have two options to define the import definition. Either you can import it to the data extension or you can import it to the list. Normally nowadays, nobody rarely uses list, but when it comes to mobile, it always becomes a list, right? And you have basically here, the other options when you go to the next configuration setup with the import activity is like selecting, let's say if I select a data extension as my target destination, then you should basically always adhere to having the primary key. If you don't have the primary key, then your import process will always go to override. You don't have the options to add and update, right? So having the primary key is one of the beneficial thing that you should do when you're doing the imports. Okay. Now, these are the most common issues that do arise. That leads to a lot of issues with your query optimization. This leads to a lot of issues with your contacts, subscribers, and all. Okay, I'll try to show some of them as well. So the first one is the when you're basically configuring the trigger send, and if you're not well equipped with how to configure trigger send, then you'll be losing a lot of things or configuration items. I'll try to explain then, where basically you have to select the all subscribers or the publication list when you're using the trigger send. It's not mandatory, but it maybe if Salesforce allows it to make it mandatory, it would be much better. Otherwise, you are going to the hidden manage list, and then I'll when I show you the demo or I'll show you more where this issue arises. Most of the people will come to understand what this happens, right? And when you're using import, and especially when you're doing the integration with the sandboxes, okay, so the import to the sandboxes is basically for testing. You're bringing the test records, right? So is it really required that you bring all the test records into the marketing cloud? And is it really required that you are using population? And if you are using population and you are inserting into that population data extension, right, it is going to the all contacts and increasing your licensing cost. So maybe you can think about it. Should we basically bring all the test records into marketing cloud or not? Okay. And the another important thing is with the data is what you're bringing into marketing cloud. Are you bringing the poor data? Okay. Are you not? Are you bringing any data that they are being tested? Let's say you have a sales cloud, which is getting integrated with marketing cloud, and they have the sandbox environment where you have millions of records, and they are also in the sandbox area. There might be sometimes they use sandbox. People get confused with the sandbox and the testing environment or the development environment. So some of them call this sandbox, uh, making as a production backup. But I haven't seen most of them follow the sandbox jargons, or they will be more of a test data, right? So bringing a poor data into marketing cloud will affect you a lot, because most of you will be using automation studio, writing queries and all on the poor data. So manipulating that poor data has a caveat, because marketing cloud does not use tables. They basically use views. So whenever you're using a query, it is a view, right? So the poor data will lead you a lot of issues. So many of time you will see like they're getting a primary key violation, but it's not a primary key violation. It is something else. Okay. Now, the other process is, yeah, first focus on your bringing quality data, and then maybe you should always concentrate on having a data contact deletion process that you can incorporate with automation studio or with API call or with SSJS and all. That will help you, with enhancing your data quality. Okay. And also, like we discussed yesterday, we said like, okay, especially with the email application, email channel, whenever you have records which are on held, right, which are in unsubscribed status, you should periodically try to clean the data. And if you want to basically store the subscriber base, you can store it in the non-sendable data extension for your future references, right? For tracking, you should have send logging and you can track. So those things that is there, because if you use a data deletion, you're definitely going to lose the tracking of the subscribers. So if that is important, maybe you should have at the beginning only, you should have started a mechanism with Automation Studio to uh, extract all the tracking and put it into your FTP. So you have another mechanism to deal with all this contact deletion. Okay. Moving forward, yeah, there's one other important one, which when you have the MC Connect to use a synchronous data extension. And at that time, if you're doing a data deletion, then that is the most focus area where people has to make it very tightly coupled, what things to be considered when you're using synchronous data extension and a data deletion. We'll cover that as well. Okay. So now coming to the best practices of contact builder, it is highly recommended that you use only a single contact key. You should not be like, okay, I'm using phone SMS communications, then I'll use a different contact key, which might be your GUID. Okay, and for email communications, I'm going to use contact ID bringing from the synchronous data extension. This will lead to a lot of potential duplications, and it is never recommended that you do. So there, if you have bringing based on your segmentation is being done based on email communication, SMS communication. So that's why we yesterday discussed why we need population to basically tie it up together so that you basically somehow don't create multiple duplicates because based on your channel communication. The third point is you should understand what is the difference between all subscriber and all contact. And yesterday I said, consider all subscribers as a subset of all contact. So all contacts becomes the superset and all subscriber becomes your subset. Those understanding has to be there. We'll discuss contact deletion. Okay. And yesterday also we discussed this, like whenever you are using data designer and you always connect your data designer when you have try to have a one-to-one relationship with the cardinality and the primary key, basically the subscriber key or the contact key should be of data type string. So whenever we are discussing ID, right, we always tend to go towards making is a number. And when we make it as a number, we are not able to tie it up to the contact key. So you should understand the data dictionary of how marketing cloud works with contact and others, right? So the same applies with contact ID and subscriber ID, and contact key and the subscriber key is the subset. Okay. The most focused, I always more focus because though whatever we said yesterday, which are the best things that we should consider based on the marketing cloud, but as we progress in marketing cloud, we rather seldom use filter data extension, random data extension, building data relationships. We seldom do that, right? And we are more concentrated with writing a query. And when you want to write a query in your automation studio, which is one of the best things that the marketing cloud has given to us, then you should focus on how to optimize the query. So first thing is related to the primary key. The primary key, the length, okay, especially the length has a very big impact in your performance of your query. And if you have millions, hundred of millions of records, then, and if you're using, you're synchronizing data extension when your contact ID is of length 18, but if you're making it 200, 100, then your performance to your query is going to be reduced, okay, because it has a lot of indexing concept into it. The second time is the data type. If you are not familiar with what data you're syncing and what data type you are importing into marketing cloud, and then you try to use convert or format and all, this also leads to a lot of performance issues. So at the very beginning, when you're defining your data extension, define your data types properly with the proper length. And data quality and data retention is more with when you're, because we are storing whatever we store is in the data extension. And in the data extension, you have an option for the retention policies. And once you define your retention policies, it will help you both with contact deletion, okay, data quality and others, especially when it comes to GDPR. So here I should focus more, saying that, let's say you have a big team, okay, and in a big team, though you have maintained a master D, like a population, okay, if I take as an example of yesterday, where we have doctors, and you create a doctors population, okay, and you have a big team and everybody is focusing on the same use case. Somebody is focusing on the newsletters, somebody on the webinar campaigns, and some other campaigns, right? For that, what they do is basically they will create their target data extension as an entry source to a journey. They will have their different set of data extensions. You're creating multiple data extensions based on your journey configurations, right? And for other activities as well. And suddenly the GDPR comes into your picture. And if this is sendable data extension, well and good. You are doing a contact deletion. And when you do the contact deletion from all the sendable data extensions, all those records gets cleaned, well and good. But if you have to, they say you have to use encryptions to the personal informations, right? All the personal data has to be encrypted. Then, you know, if you haven't put the retention policies or other things, then it becomes an issue. Okay, so it's better you always add retention and all. You have a proper data model and model things and all that you have to consider. And the searchable arguments, it's not like you basically write a query. Okay, we'll move forward fast from here. Okay, in the searchable query, when you use a where clause, rather than using not in, not exist, basically use greater than, or you say in. Okay, not like. These are also leads to performance issue. And the concurrent activities, uh, it's like, let's say you have multiple automations that are being, you're running in the automation. Okay, you have one data extension that you're manipulating or you're updating it. At the same time, if another automations, another query is running, that will also lead to a lot of issues. So uh, focus more on the concurrent activities. Maybe you can little bit of do a staging. Maybe you can modify the timing of your data activities that are being run. Okay, the queries that you're running with the concurrent activities, that can be done. So that's an overview with the optimization. Yeah, much in detail. Maybe I'll give it this to Pani, and you people can go through the every point that we discussed. Okay, because having more primary keys into your data extension, it decreases of big performance. Okay, and when you're using insert, like say when you want to update or insert data into a data extension, either query, API, or whatever, and you have multiple primary keys, it will also lead to a lot of issues. Okay, and yeah, so obviously we have like we defy marketing cloud sometimes, and we use varchar max into the data extension sometimes when you use from the email studio. But if that is really required, then only is better that you do. If not, I'll say never use this. Okay, so all these things, yeah, I'll try to move directly into, if I see something, I'll try to say one example. I'll just pick important examples that you have to consider. Maybe Pani, I'll give this to PPT to you, and you can share it to everyone. Okay,
Sure.
it will be a much better reference there. So few examples will be like you are running a query. Okay, and in the query, you are doing a delta operation. So the delta operation is to bring the data, which is for 24 hours, right? So if you're writing a query to fetch records, which is within that 24 hours, say the open, click, and all, but you're writing query giving 30 days. So that is one way, can restrict up to 24 hours, not to bring the data that is 30 hours. Because normally automations you write and run is hourly, right? So it should be more than hours should be enough, right? So don't bring big data or write all these where clauses in a haphazard manner. That will lead to your performance. Okay, and most of people might be asking, okay, so he's talking contact builder, and why he's discussing searchable arguments with query optimization. So because we are storing data, and to store data, the quality has to be good. And if you have to maintain the quality, obviously you're moving towards query and all to manipulate and update and do all other sorts of things. Then definitely this query optimization is one of the most important things that should be discussed for contact builder. Okay. So, and the last one, I think This will be end here with this query optimization, who will be using the data staging. So if you're holding, if you're basically manipulating your data, let's say example of a tracking. So you have bounces, clicks, open, spam compliant, and many things, right? Rather than writing one query with a lot of union, joins, and other things, why not create different data extensions for open, click, bounce, spam, and others, right? And then after that, you can have a final query where you can basically bring all the data and put it into the holding tables rather than having one query and doing this. So this is one way you can optimize your uh, query studio and automation studio, okay, for better performance. Yeah, so this one is the most important focus. Now we came back to all contacts at contact builder. Okay, so from the contact builder, we have to make certain configuration changes that you need to consider in contact builder to enable you for data deletion. And data deletion that happens is at the parent business unit. It will be enterprise 2.0 edition. If you're using there, right, it will always be at the parent business unit. So you can do a contact deletion using contact builder, or we can basically select data extension or individual records as well, or a list, okay? And then you can do the contact deletion. And you also, Marketing Cloud also gives you to delete via API, REST API. And for REST API also, you have two options. Either you can do it via list or data extension, is up to you, okay? So for data deletion, one of the most important concept is to understand the suppression part. Okay, enabling, we said that, okay, it's in the parent business unit, and there we have to enable it. That is well said, okay. But the process, you have to understand the process. By default, the process of, it is set by 2 day in the suppression period. And if you want to increase the performance of the suppression, like the whole deletion process, the suppression period has to be take it to 0. Okay. So here what you do is you start the initiation of the process deletion, and then it goes to suppression period. Okay. And once it does into suppression period, then it goes to the final deletion, and then you can monitor it. And then once the deletion is done, I'll show you in the contact analytics how you can monitor uh, if you're doing a bulk of contact deletions. Okay. I think it is now, initially it was 500K. Now they have made it to 1 million per contact deletion that you can do in Marketing Cloud. But I still depends on how much contacts you're deleting. So I'll definitely not go with 1 million. I'll always go with 500K. But see, this one is the most important factor which I see when you're doing contact deletion. Okay, and especially when you're using synchronous data extension. What happens is you are performing contact deletion. Okay, at the same time you have a pool of 15 minutes, which will be basically syncing the data from Sales Cloud to Marketing Cloud. At one end you are deleting, at one end again you are injecting, right? So a lot of times you might see that the suppression has not gone well, okay? Or sometimes you might see the contacts getting increased again and again. And you will also see a lot of zombie records, okay, with GUID and all. If you go to see the contact key, it will be, you will see like zombie records there. So this all happens when you don't stop synchronization, or if you don't apply certain filters into your synchronization data extension or in your setup. So the best part is you're defining, okay, these are the contacts that I need to delete. Then if you are clear with this, you can go to your sales team and Sales Cloud team, okay? And this will basically create one custom attribute or an attribute, which will basically define, okay, this is the records which I don't want to sync into Marketing Cloud because I'm deleting those records into Marketing Cloud. Then you can go to the data source, okay? And then you can apply the filter in the data source for that synchronous detection object, so that it does not get synced into Marketing Cloud again. So this is one of the things which I see a lot of people didn't understood, and they create a sync. Okay, at the same time they are doing the data deletion, and you're getting a lot of zombie records. If you get a proper contact key, then you'll understand, okay, it got synced back, but sometimes it doesn't happen. And that happens because of the first point is the suppression. You made a suppression period to be more than 2-3 days or 2 days by default. Okay. And the other reason is you're syncing back the records. So this will be the most important factor when you consider contact deletion. And yeah, and I was discussing yesterday regarding population. Okay, so population, when you're using population, you have a master view, right? Master view of the records where you can perform a lot of things. So if you have to perform GDPR, if you have a population with a single data extension there, which acts as a master data extension, then you can apply encryption data deletion to that population. You have this Japan rule also, Personal Information Protection Act, and you have this Australia rule also, Privacy Act. So based on all these acts and honoring the customer consents and all, I think one way to go with population. But yeah, there is a bigger caveat that if you use population and if you're adding records into population, then it is going to add to your all contacts and it will increase your licensing cost. So that caveat that has to be added to. Okay. And then, as I said, like when we do the data deletion, you can do the data deletion using, you know, the contact key using from the data extension. So this is one way you can do it. Okay, you can have this REST API, and if you want to use via a list, because most of the time what we do is we create a list in the mobile connect, in the mobile list from all contacts, and we can, rather than writing a query, adding into a data extension, and then writing an API, okay, doing a SSJS with a loop and all, you can have a list from, this will be a much better option to basically do a data deletion. I think this will be the end of the query. Okay, so we'll directly jump into Marketing Cloud and try to showcase whatever we did discuss yesterday and today. How should I basically minimize this one? Is there an option to minimize this one? Hide. Okay, great. Pani, can you see my screen?
I can see your screen, yeah.
Okay. So now today we'll do more of a demonstration, okay, rather than going with the slides. I'm not very good with the slides as well. Okay. So a small recap with yesterday's data designer. So as I said yesterday, we have in the data designer, we have attribute group and population, right? And it depends on the architects, how they are going to go with this attribute group or a population. And somebody yesterday asked me what the difference between population and attribute group. So the basic difference is there is no such difference, but the basic thing is how you're designing this model, your data model for your Marketing Cloud, and it should have always should have one-to-one relationship with your contact key. So if I go to population, right? So I have a contact key. Now with the contact key, I'm building a relationship. So I took an example of a healthcare industry. So if I'm implementing healthcare industry in Marketing Cloud with respect to Marketing Cloud use cases, okay, then for me, my basically motto is to basically, okay, define a data model for patients, which would be basically have a one-to-one relationship with contact key. Okay. And you can also definitely, as I said yesterday, if you have gone through the video or the slides that I've shown, I have explicitly told there that if you're adding this into your attribute group, okay, if I'm creating an attribute group for doctors, and once I have used, so we have already our doctor, okay. So if I'm using an attribute group, and if I'm trying to link, then you have only two options. Like when I already created the doctor's profile into the population, now I will not be able to basically have it into uh, the attribute group. So you have either or options to do it. So here, if you see, you don't see the doctor's data extension here because I have already using the population. The same applies with the patients. Okay. So if you are well equipped with data designer and you have maintained one-to-one relationship, yeah, if you have a caveat that, okay, if I use population, it's going to add into all contexts every time I add a data into the data extension, though no matter if I send a communication or not, you can remove the population and create a attribute group with that particular master set. That is more than welcomed. Okay. But it has a lot of important factors for what you need to do a population, especially with GDPR contact deletion or not, because you have a better view, right? How the better view? Because if I go to all contacts and say in the all contacts, if I go to the mobile list, okay, and if I want to create a list, okay, I say, okay, filter list, and I already have all contacts, okay. So from all contacts, or you can definitely define, here I had defined with the population as well, okay. Here, if you see the edit rules, here I'm taking this one from the doctors. So from the doctors, I can create a filtered list where if I've created a process for data deletion, and on regular basis, I'm going to delete all those records which are not contactable, then for me, population is a better way to basically enable it. Okay. So this is one of the best way that I can do from all contacts, where I can create a lot of filters. So this one filter for today's, here, if you see here, okay, I created this here. Here, all those contacts which does not have a email address. For that, I created a list, and there are two records, right? And I can definitely I go here. Though I haven't enabled the contact deletion, so you'll not see the contact deletion option here. Okay, I'll go there as well. Here, when we discuss data sources, it's like you're building a data designer. Is your data designer, then you're defining everyone, like anyone from Marketing Cloud who has access to this, they can definitely go to this data designer and they can understand the structure, how this is being defined, how your data model has been defined, right? They can understand the data dictionary that is used normally in the SLDS processes, right? So I can, if I go to this, okay, I'm using a patient's billing data model, and if a new team member comes into your team, they can come to the data designer, and from here they will understand, okay, how all these data extensions are interlinked with each other. They can click here, they can go to the data extension and understand, okay, I have billing doctor ID as a primary key, okay, is using composite key, okay, these are string data types and all, these are decimal. So all this can be, they have a better, that's why I say yesterday in the very beginning that data designer is a framework and is giving you a UI portal where you can understand the every data model concept that you have been incorporating into Marketing Cloud, right? So somebody was asking me, okay, what is the usefulness of having a data designer? Okay, so, and when you make a data designer, like let's say if I'm creating for the health industry, I created doctors and patients, then I can create a data source here. Okay, so here I'll say healthcare. Okay, and once I create the healthcare, And I can see there are 54 attributes that I created during the data designer that I interlink different data extensions, and you define the data source, okay, the data model. Then here, if I create a healthcare, here, if I can go, let me make it detail 100% here. Okay, there's something wrong with this UI. Okay, something's wrong with the UI. Okay, something is wrong. I don't know how to manage this UI part. You basically here, though I'm not able to show you here, but you'll see all the attributes that you have assigned, okay, uh, in the data designer. All those unmatched attributes will be here. And with the healthcare, you can basically define the data source. This will be the healthcare. And for that, let me duplicate this. So you're in the data designer, okay, let's say if I just give a population, here is a doctor. So for the doctors, whatever you have here, like the doctor ID, email, title, and all these attributes will be displayed here, okay. Somehow my UI is something, though they can see this attribute group, this is for specialty, this is the patient's billing. So whatever attribute group that you have defined, it will be shown here. And I don't know how to scroll. Let me just minimize. I don't know. Yeah, something wrong with the UI. So you'll be able to select those fields and attach to this healthcare. So you're defining for what is the data source here that you can do from the data source. Okay. Here, let me refresh. Somehow I'm okay. So creating a data extension, I would always ask everyone, yeah, to create a proper folder structure based on your team, based on this will be based on the use case that you're defining. So it becomes easier for everyone to navigate, have a proper folder structure that will help you. Like if I have to create for yesterday, I created for session, I called it a session 11. And here I had the healthcare, okay, healthcare industry. So inside the healthcare industry, I created all those data extensions so that for me, if I have to delete also, I'll, if for cleanup and everything, it will be easier for me to navigate and do. Okay. So there are certain differences how you create data extensions. You have two options to create data extension. One is from the contact builder. Okay. The other one, you can do it from the email studio. So from email studio, you go to the subscribers and you go to the data extensions. Okay. So there will be a lot of differences that you'll find. So for example, if I have to, even create a folder. Now, if I start with a numeric number, it does not allow you to create a folder which is number. But you have an option here if you want to create a folder with a number. Okay. So if I say 1 point and then I'll say integration, then it definitely is going to allow you to create that folder with a number. Okay. So I will definitely, if I go and define my folder structure, it will be like definitely with the 1, 2, 3, and defining integration, import, similar way. Okay. So I can do it from email studio, but I can't do it from the contact builder. Now, if I, again, the other caveat, as I said yesterday, say I have already used this data extensions into the attribute group. Okay. I've created in the data designer. So here you get the notification saying that, okay, you should basically, if you want to make any changes to the data extension, basically go to the contact builder because it is tied with the data designer. don't try to make the changes from there. And here you don't see the edit button here. It will be disabled from here, right? But if I go to doctors and here, then yeah, I can create another attribute and add it to the doctor's data extension. Okay. The another advantage with data extension is from email studio is if you want to let's say create a data extension, then you get all this option, either the standard data extension, filter data extension, or the random data extension, right? But if you go from here, okay, you have only the standard data extension that starts building. Yeah, from there you can select a template or the existing data extension or create a new one, but you don't get these options of creating a filter data extension. So if you want to create a filter data extension, you have to again come back to Email Studio and do it. Similar with the random one, right? And whenever you create a filter data extension, though it will be populated here, you will be able to come here and see it, but you will not be able to define like what filter has been applied to the data extension. You have to go to Email Studio and then see what is the filter that you have applied to. And again, with data extension, there's one more important thing was maybe somebody will be going through the data extension, or I don't know if there is some session, but you have a data relationship. Okay. Here in the data relationship, you can create a relationship between two data extensions. Okay. And define, like when you use it to the data filters, you can define this relationship. So you have, let's say, doctor and say specialty. You have two data extension. Okay. And you want to filter a specialty, a doctor having a specialty, which is basically oncologist. So you created two data extensions. So based on here, you can define the data relationship here. I can go to, I don't know if I've created specialty. Okay. But in the health industry, I have the doctor. Okay. Now I have to select another data extension, which is say, if I have the specialty, I don't remember if I've created it. Oh yeah, I do, right? So, but you need to have a proper relationship with doctor, and here it should have a specialty. Okay. So then you can add, and then what you can define a data filter where you can use this relationship, and then you can have a proper segmentation method that you can implement with data extensions. But that is not here in obviously contact builder again. Okay. This is another caveat here. What else with data extension? In data extension, okay, maybe I should concentrate on the episode 13 one. So if you create a data extension, let's say if I want to create a random data extension, let's say this is, what do you say? Okay, let me call it episode 13. Okay. Here, like this one, I have said multiple times here, this testable one, I said it yesterday. If you make it testable, okay, and if you basically want to do the email preview and test, and if this is a testable data extension, you can create the preview of all the records that you have in this data extension and perform a test and send it to your email address, and you can validate. So it will be more with the QA team and all. Okay. I was not going there. I was going here. So I'll go to retention. But here, let's say I'm able to create, let's say I have a JSON, which I want to store, I don't know the length, okay? And then you can have some JSON ID or something. And then it allows you to create a data extension where, you know, this, yeah, obviously this relationship, I have to change it back because I made it sendable, okay? So even if I'm not entering the field length, you'll be able to basically create, that is like max n varchar. Okay, here you can do it from Email Studio. Definitely, if you try to do it from Contact Builder, it will not give you this. Okay, so it will not give you this option to create. So I say I'll not say test, max length. Here, okay. So if I say some ID and let me try to remove this, see, it is a mandatory field here. So you have to definitely add the length. So this is one. Okay, this is just maybe you consider something else, but I don't like doing all these things. Okay, now going back to the retention policy here. So this is one of the most important thing that you should consider with the data extension, having the retention policy. You have a lot of options, either to delete individual records. Say I'm running a campaign. Okay, so from the master D, I did some filter using query or filter data extension. I created data extension, and this is a one-time send, or say is even a multi-send with different touch points in a journey. And then this campaign is going to, end on after a month. Then maybe say I'll say 30 days. Then I can, if I want to retain the data extension, well and good. If you want to delete the data records, then I can, after 30 days, it will be helping me with the GDPR and other laws and all, if I have to incorporate in my marketing cloud. So this is the best way to go about it. Even you have an option to even delete the data extension, okay? Maintaining the data quality, maintaining the good quality of marketing cloud. This is one way to go. If you're running a campaign, and for every campaign or weekly newsletter, and you're trying to do this, is one way to do. Okay, so weekly, if I'm talking of weekly, then obviously I'll not say 7-8 days. Oh yeah, there are other caveats with VWAP and all, but this is one way to do about it. I'll not say like you have to manage, you have to maintain this retention policy for every data extension, because if you're making as a sendable data extension and using in a journey is okay, but if you're using via automation email activity, then your VWAP that will be incorporated in your email, that will have an effect. Okay, so you have to understand it's good practice, but it's not necessary that you have to do for every data extension. This is where we were. Yeah, we were in data extension. Okay, now going to the import. So for me, creating an import definition from here is more important, not with the data extension, but especially with when you have SMS and WhatsApp. Obviously, you can do it for data extension as well. Here, I don't have SMS long code, short code configured or WhatsApp. So I have to show you this import definition to be created using for data extension. So what we'll do, uh, let me create a data extension. So still I'll focus on the healthcare only. Okay. So for episode 13, I want to do a backfill for the doctors. So this doctors backfill. Okay. So I already have a doctor data extension. So maybe I'll try to replicate the structure. That's the same structure I want. So doctors. Okay. So okay, it's give you a name, so I can change the name. Doctors backfill. Okay. Here, okay. There's another one. Like if I want to make the external key as the same name as the data extension, here whenever you try to do this, marketing here, this one contact filter from your data extension, it does not allow you to do that. But from Email Studio, if I do that, it will give you that option. So I brought everything that had the structure here. Okay. And let me complete this. So the backfill, if you see the external key here, okay, it does not, though I added it, it does not allow this one. Okay. But if I do it from, I have to show this one from Email Studio. This will be more related, like everything is, this external key is type out with your journey builder, with you when you're using SSJs, WS proxy and all. This external key plays a vital role. This is the primary identifier. So for me, when I'm more into programming and all, so I always concentrate on having the same name, because I can't memorize the external key, but for me, I can remember the name of the data extension. Okay, so let's say I created a data extension. Again, I can create it from existing. 13. So your doctors, it was from 11. Okay. So doctor. Okay. And here I say, okay, I'll make it a backfill to doctor backfill. I'll just say 2. Okay. So here, if I create this one, I'm giving an external key as the same as the data extension name. Okay. So anyway, email address and all, I agree that this all is done. Okay. So here, if you see this backfill to, okay, and you see this external key, now it is taking. Okay. So I can refresh this as well, and you'll see the difference here. Okay. So it's not taking more the external key as a GUID, but it has no, so I can have this advantage here. Anyway, moving forward with the import, just to basically do the import, the best way what I do is, first I'll try to have some record. Okay, just is a test record, just dummy record. Now, okay, it has to be a valid. Okay. Let me see if I have already some records, if I had added here, because my doctor. Okay. Oh, okay. I don't have it. Okay, let me create another one. Dummy. So let me fill this one. Where is this doctor backfill? So this is 50 length, email address, title 50, 50, 50. Okay, let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let me give a valid email address. Doctor. Not all are mandatory, so that's okay for me. Mm. And specialty. Mm. Seriously? Okay, this business unit have some issue. Okay, it's not related to that, but I have a backup anyway. Doctor's backfill. Anyway, I have one record anyway. I have one file that I can import. Okay. So yesterday I had already won this. Yeah, so this one, what I said, if you don't have a primary key, obviously you have to do the override. Okay. So I was doing an import, let's say the import. Okay, so I took the wrong file. So since this is a CSV file, I should take a CSV file. So here is the CSV file. Oh, okay, this is a different data extension. I understood. So this one. Okay, I'll not with the doctors. I'm not able to create a doctors one. Okay, but with the master, I'm going to show with the master. So I created some. This one just a dummy record. Why I created was to export this file. Okay, and then use this. Let's say okay, give the date to use it in the import definition. I can clean up the data extension. So what I can do, I can do a browser download. Okay, you can have only one record also. That will be enough for you. Here, okay. So I'm basically this is the my let's say this is the master D backfill. I can rename this. Okay. So I created a backfill. Okay. Let me delete all these records from here. Why I added this record is to basically create a. I can basically if I don't have data here in this data extension. So Marketing Cloud does not allow you to give the export. Okay. Yeah, because the data extension is empty, you will not be able to export. So to get the file structure, I add a dummy record and then I can create a file structure. Then once I go to import here, because we were discussing import, okay. Then here I can select a data extension and I can choose, so this was in downloads, okay. So I can choose that file here. Now I can select a data extension, which was the master backfill, okay. Master backfill, yeah. So obviously you have to have a primary key, then this one. And obviously, I always ask everybody encouraged to check these two boxes also, okay? Because when you're using this as to respect the double quotes and all, it will have a better data quality. So normalize numbers and all with locals and other all these things you'll be have here. Okay, you have other options to do, like if you're using comma separator will be CSV tab. Then you can, I'll show you how to create a tab version of that same CSV file. Okay, so you create this one. And then you have options either by ordinal or by header, but I will always ask everyone encouraged to do by manually. And then from here, you can select each attribute, okay? Because since I was using a file or using a dummy record, it basically by the header row, it was properly mapped. So that becomes an advantage. That's why I was trying to add a dummy record and do that. So I don't have to do it manually, okay? So once I create this, I give a name. So this was a master D backfill, okay? Then I always keep the same name, okay? You can give your file naming pattern as you wish to. If you want to add a wildcard with month and day and all, you can do that. So let's, if you want, okay, let me try this. So master day, then you say month. Okay, let me, okay, remove this CSV first. Master D, okay. So I want to keep the date, month and year. Okay, let's format this to day, month and year. And after that, you can add the CSV dot CSV. Okay, so this will be a naming pattern if you want to use. Okay, this will be your name. I don't want to go somebody with the automation, they will explain all these details. Okay, so here you need to define the file location. Here they have defined the file location as this one, and the FTP and other things. I think the automation person who will be giving you as is demoing you with the bootcamp, they will explain you this FTP and others. Then this is done. Okay, so I created a import definition here because I don't have, again I'm saying I don't have SMS and WhatsApp configured. So similarly here you can do with SMS and WhatsApp. I can simply show you what can be done. Like, so if I go to mobile connect, and when you go to add contacts. Okay, so you have an option, okay, where you want to add the contacts. Now either you set to the existing standard list or to all contacts. Then again, the same way, you can choose a file, okay, and I say agree. And when I say next, that's okay for me. But in the next one, I'll be stopped because I need the the long code, short code, and the keyword to be here. So I'm stopped here. Okay, so that's a caveat. But yeah, definitely, if I can go back there. Okay, so it's the same one. This mobile list also is the same. So WhatsApp also you can create similar to WhatsApp import definition also from this import. Okay, uh, in the email studio, sorry, in the automation, you have this option with the imports. Like this is the definition that has been created, right? So let's say if I have to create that, if I were to implement this here in the automation studio, I simply need to do the import file activity. Okay, the import file. So if let's say if I do an import file here, what I've done, I've created this master details backfill. Okay, so if I want to do, then you'll see the master details backfill here. Okay, so this is configured. You simply need to add an activity, and then you can add it here in this automation. Okay, so since it is using the same data extension, it moved to this other one because here yesterday when I was trying this, it is there. Okay, so this is the master backfill details. It can be used here. So this one advantage, you create an import definition here and use it in the automation. Obviously, you can run it from here, but logging mechanism and other things, it becomes later. Though you have a status and all, I would not recommend you to start this import definition, running this import definition from here, but rather than using an automation and start doing from here. Okay. What you can also do, what I was thinking of. Okay, so let's say you can basically, what you can also do is, let's say you are running a journey. Okay, you're running a campaign, and I would always request people to basically, why not use a import file to the subscriber list or to the SMS or the WhatsApp before sending such communication. So here I created one import file. Okay, which one will be this one, right? So if you see here, okay, so here you have an option. Let's say the same way. Okay, you define the activity and all these configurations you can do. You can define the FTP location and everything. Okay, from where you want to pick up the file, you can do data extract and then pick up the file. Here you have an option to select data extension or the subscriber list. Okay, once I do subscriber list, what type of subscribers you are trying to import, you have an option to say email or SMS. Okay, and then here, basically, yeah, I did with ordinal. I have to create a similar kind of file and then map it that I showed you before. Okay, after this, you'll have this. So in the all subscriber, you can update the email address. You can update the subscriber from active to unsubscribe to active. All these things you can do through this import activity, through this file import. Okay, so here where I'm targeting the all subscriber. So this is one way which I feel like everybody should add or try to do when they're running their campaign and all. Okay, so this is based on the import one. Now with the configuration here, this mapping I seldom try to do it. Okay, when you want to map that attributes with the contact ID, yeah, you can enable it, but you have to fetch all the contact IDs and start building your data model. So I don't know how many people does this. This one contact events is normally is going to get retired. Okay, inter data designer also here between attribute and population, you will also could see somewhere events here, but that is getting retired. I don't know anything about data loading this one. What enablement, if I do on and off, what is going to happen? So I'm not going there. With the contact deletion, right? So I turned it off. If I am to turn on, I click here, okay, contact deletion. I say, I understand this and I enable it. And from the manage setting, okay, this one is quite important. So it will be some way, it will be defaulted to 2. If you're turning on enough, then whatever is the old one that is capturing here. So the suppression period, always try to make it 0. Okay, so this is the suppression period, and then you save it. Okay, this always happens with this business unit. I don't know why. So for contact deletion, you have to make it the contact deletion, you have to enable it. So this is how you enable it. Okay. It is 0. Okay. So once this is done and you go to the mobile connect, sometimes you have to refresh if not showing. Here is showing you create mobile list. Let me refresh this. Mhm. It might take some time, but yeah, you'll be able to enable the deletion from here. Yeah, yeah. So you see now it changed here. Okay, I got a deletion button here. So if I see this one, yeah, I created this episode 13 where I said I have this contacts, okay, where there are 2 contacts which are basically does not have email addresses. So I can select here individually and I can delete it from here, okay, or I can this one is the delete selected records. So if you do this one, so what it says here, deleting removes information relationship, all provision channels, okay, from journey builder, contact builder, audience builder, email studio, mobile connect, mobile push, group connect, Einstein, everywhere. Okay, and then here is the suppression period that starts. So obviously they are using a sanity check before deletion. Okay, all the sanity checks will be done. Suppressed contacts does not appear in the journey builder once it is suppressed. Okay, suppressed contacts do not appear in the contact builder. So once this suppression is done, from the very beginning, you will be start. No, it will be hidden there. Okay, so all these things will happen, and then the data deletion process happens. Right. So this is how you can do the individual records. Now, if I go back in the all contacts from here, okay, I have an option to basically select a data extension. I can select a data extension. So let's say I created a backfill. I can create another data extension here. So for me, it will be like, okay, doctors backfill. So I can select doctors and I say, okay, I want to start deleting it. Then once you do the start deletion, the same window appears here and you can do the data deletion. Okay. And once you start a data deletion, you then see once I enable this, another tab like contact analytics got enabled. So you'll get another tab, and here from here you can track it, what is happening, whether it's in the suppression period or whether it is doing a deletion or all these things you can do by data deletion here. Okay. I'm just recalling what I said in my slides because slides are quite important. So just I recalled, I said with the trigger sent. So when you create a trigger sent, you go to interactions tab from email studio. You go to triggered emails. Okay. And here I'll show you what normally people, what mistakes they try to make. It's not intentional, unintentional mistakes, but it has some lot of issues. So here. To trigger send. Hmm. The UI in Email Studio, this is quite definitely is a big issue. It creates, yeah, it takes time to load. Okay, so I'm in the trigger sent. So try to create, still waiting. Okay, so again, episode 13. As I said, I'll always keep the external key the same. Okay, so I have to select the email. I'll randomly select any email. Hope they have some proper email. Okay. Anyway, I'm selecting any email. Okay, here subscriber management. This one, what I was talking about was this subscriber management. Okay, this one you can create a trigger send template to basically add it here. Okay, so whenever you create a template, you can create a trigger send template and attach to this trigger send. But it's not mandatory that you need to have a trigger send template data extension attached to a trigger send. Okay, and also it's not mandatory that you select all subscriber or you say the publication list or any other subscriber list. Okay, here, so if I just select email address and I don't select anything in below this UI, okay, and if I make this, so choose a list. Okay, so now they are giving you the option here. Okay, so now they, thank God this is there. Okay, sometimes what happens is if you don't choose the list or you say just modify this. Okay, now so this is giving an issue. Okay, you don't have the sender profile. Try trigger send definition already exist. Okay, let's go back. So this has a lot of UI issue, but this was a more of a UI issue. So this is what I was discussing here. So if I don't select here, okay, if I say don't select this, and if I make this, then obviously I have to select the email. So I said that the email has to be properly configured. If that email is not properly configured, then you have an issue. Somebody, I don't know if somebody has created, okay, this me only, webinar invitation. So it's fine. Let's see if I'm selecting here. Okay. Yeah, you see. So I didn't select it. What I was focusing here was I didn't select it all subscriber and my list. Okay. If I say add an update, yeah, this was default. If this is check default, then you have a mandatory field that will say, okay, you need to have that list to be selected. But if I do this, sometimes it happens. And if I start triggering send, like if I start this trigger send and start creating a record, it will not be added into any of your list, and it will be managed under your hidden managed list. Okay, and this comes into play especially like say you have parent business unit, and let's say you have multiple child business unit, and you're doing this in your child business unit, and if you try to write a query on subscriber data view without using ENT prefix, then you'll get all the subscribers. But if you use ENT, you'll not find those subscribers. Okay, so this one issue that happens. So this is what we discuss in the common issues when you're doing import or you're conferring a trigger send, not conferring trigger send properly. So this is one example. Okay, I think, yeah, I covered anything. Did I missed any point to discuss? I don't think so. Yeah, I think, Pani, I'm done almost. If they have any questions, maybe I can answer those questions.
I think there are pretty less questions. Thank you so much, Sasi. It's really good sessions for both the days. Thank you so much for your time as well. I think Aishwarya has answered most of the questions. Uh, no, there are no much questions actually. There is one question, especially on with regards to the concurrent activities, is there any concept of locks like RDBMS in Marketing Cloud?
Concurrent activities, this common issues that you're saying?
Yeah, is there any concept exactly? Concurrent issues ideally is going to happen when we do perform all this, right? Data loading and all. So is there any concept of RDBMS in Marketing Cloud? I don't think so.
No. Marketing Cloud is not a RDBMS or any such. The data extensions that you're using are not even tables. Okay, they are views. So if you write a query, let's say, if you use Query Studio, I don't know if this is enabled in this view. Okay, but if you say, yeah, obviously here I don't have even the Query Studio. Okay, so if you write a Query Studio, what happens is in your data extension, you will see this one, Query Studio results, right? So in this year, you will be creating data extensions. So what you're doing, you're writing a query. It is basically creating a temporary, people will call it as a temporary table. So that temporary table is basically a view. Okay? And when you're writing SQL query in Marketing Cloud and you have sub queries, and in the sub query, what happens is first the sub query runs, right? It creates a view, and then on top of that, the outer query runs, okay? And then it will add it to your target data extension. So your sub query is the, when you have a sub query, okay? Just to show you is this one another interesting thing. This is where you'll find, sometimes you'll find an issue and you'll not find a solution. So what happens is, though is an interesting question here. Okay, so if I say select and I say attribute 1 and so on, okay, and then you have some select, okay, anyway, so you have a where clause or you have a select. So I'm going to write another select here inside a sub query, select something, okay, so attr1 something NL you have one, and attr2, and this from D2, okay, and you have this from D1. So some kind of this kind of query, okay, and you have a sub query or you have a inner join and all. Now this sub query, you say this attr1, this one, if you're trying to bring this one, though it is this one is not a perfect example, but this attr3, let me keep 3. Okay, so the data type of this data extension is say date, okay, and your target data extension is of type string. Okay, so though it will try to do the typecasting itself, but sometimes what happens is you'll land into a lot of primary key violations, and you'll feel like, okay, I don't have your issue with primary key. Why it is giving a primary key violation? So you'll see like you have written a subquery, and the subquery is of type field as date or say integer, and your destination data type is of type string. Then these issues do occur. And why this is occurring? Because this is not a relationship you said as RDBMS, okay, where you're try to run a native SQL query. These are not native SQL query. You're inserting and you're not doing insert statement or offset yet. So of the statement, set and all, you're not doing, you're just doing a select statement. So you have to keep that in mind. That's why you said like create a data extension, staging data extension and all to perform your query activity and all. So yeah.
Thanks, Rishi. I think no questions from anyone. I think that's it. Thank you so much for the great explanation for both the days, and thank you so much for your time, Shashi. I know it's really tough time for for you to have organizing all the other elements. Thank you once again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Pani. Yeah, is obviously I'm a quite a busy person, and I defy a lot of rules. Okay, I try to do conduct sessions based on my own flavor. That's why if you go and see my AMP enablement or journey enablement, which is concluded. So I go in a different transaction where where Salesforce will also have to give their lot of answers. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I know. Thank you. Thank you
Mhm.
all. And then I'll stop the recording.